welcome back to The Crew Calling All Units, Driving All Cars, part number 92. The Ducati Hypermotard, that's what we are looking at. It seems to, well, it's a bit of an off-road bike, but more of a trial bike or something, that's what it looked like. But it has two specs, being one of them street, the other one dirt. Kinda explains it. Has the look of an off-roader, but at the other hand it might be just better in street. We will see. What you are looking at here is the full stock, so we can't do a test with that. We have to look for the other ones. I put them at $12.99 as always, and have a look at the street spec. Not much different, just gave the driver a little bit red colored, which is the Ducati color, of course. Free drive challenge, that's what we are going to do. And while we're going to do that, as always, to do the 1 mile drag race, which is a free drive challenge. See what we can do. A high 25, a low 26. Those are sort of the top timers. Anything under 20 seconds is pretty damn good in street. And there are not much who can do that. I don't know what was that, but that was a pretty damn slow start. But it might appear like that. And I'm also not so sure why the driving is wanting to kiss the front wheel of this. Seriously, how do they put them on this bike? $25.823, ladies and gentlemen. That is KTM 450 numbers that are appearing here, and that was the fastest accelerating bike in street spec, and also it is one of the fastest with 381 in slipstream as top speed. It is probably the best street spec around. Unfortunately, they patched the bikes and the handling wasn't that good anymore, which didn't make it OP anymore because cars were faster suddenly. The dirt spec. Let's have a look what that thing can do. It seems to go to about 5,000 RPM and then it kind of gets stuck there in these first low gears. Was the same with the street spec, but nevertheless it did. I have to check that, but it might have been just that the street spec did the fastest acceleration time in street spec overall. $26.499, which is also pretty good. Do we have something to compare with? What did I test here? The Kawasaki 450 with a 26.9 here. A bit earlier, tested it in one of the previous videos. Also here, I have to recheck the KTM, but yep, 26.499 is definitely not a slow time. So we can already fill that in here. Acceleration is a definite plus. Although it appears to be some first gear thing going there. Like it wouldn't want it to start or something. But in the end, the fast time show on the board, so there's not much we can do about that. Might just appear. Just the way how the driver sits on this thing, that's another problem. As I said, top speed for the KTM is 381 kilometers an hour. Why is that so important? That is important, for instance, for a speed trap event in the summit, where if we have to use the street spec, and if we could use the KTM, we use the KTM because it's the slowest, the fastest that is. Of course, sometimes the qualifiers are teamed, and then you cannot use the KTM bike. But if you could use it, it was the way to go. Mazda MX-5 could get a higher speed by people who tested it, but 385, 386, something like that. But it has such slow acceleration and stiff handling that you can't go anywhere with it. So the KTM in the end was the fastest to get the best average on a speed trap. We already tested the Indian Chief Dark Horse in the previous video, and that already was faster. Because I could do 375 solo downhill here, and it wasn't on the limiter yet, so with slipstream it definitely goes over 380, so we might have to test that in the next street event. And now we have this thing, 376. I did a 378 or 379 here yesterday, and that is also without slipstream. So also this one is definitely going to be faster than the KTM, although this one will be close to the limiter it seems, or at least to the red zone, but can it go into the red zone? Then it might be the fastest of them all. This might just be the thing that can get the highest top speed in street spec. It's either this one or the Indian Chief Dark Horse. That has to be tested with some slipstream. If I can find a team, I might post it if I get the results. If not, we will use it in one of the next qualifiers for sure, because one of those two is going to beat the KTM, and then you just need to have this. Now let's see, if this also handles, then it might just not be as bad as all. I'm not a fan of the Ducati Monster, except for dirt spec, because yeah, it's the best to use in stunt race. But also this has a dirt spec, and it looks more like an off-roader than the Monster. So also this might be whoa. Brakes are okay, not that great though, but not like they are bad. Okay, let's see what the problem is already. Just like with the KX 450 Kawasaki, this thing understeers. Seriously understeers, must say. Not as bad as the new Mercedes GLC police car though. Not so sure what they did there with the handling, but if you want to talk about a useless car or bike in this game, it's gotta be that one. Mercedes GLC understeers like crazy, and well, it can't be used in the great missions because the racers are driving performance and circuit spec, so the street, dirt and race police cars are useless at this point unless they are going to change the crates into spec requirements like they do with the story missions, and then those three specs can actually have a meaning. Oh my god, what's happened to 6th gear acceleration? Completely gone. Eventually it will get going, I guess, but yeah, that has to be tested. The KTM 450, Kawasaki 450, the Indian bikes, especially the Chief Dark Horse. But on the other hand, can do 360 at this point here. It's also a point of view, I think, because it looks like it's going slow, but then you look at the numbers. The acceleration test is one of the fastest of street spec tested here on the Bonneville. Handling wise, it's more than okay, and top speed, it's probably the fastest of the lot. So strange bike. The feeling is not that great. If you drive it, it feels slow, but if you look at the times and the scores, top speed probably the best, acceleration amongst the best. On a straight line, 1 mile drag. Coming out of the corners, the acceleration doesn't seem to be that good though. But is it good enough to get to the 5 cameras on a speed trap? That's all you need if you can use it in a speed trap event. Then this thing has a meaning in the game. And yeah, acceleration, top speed are definitely a plus. The minus, well, I don't know. The brakes are not that great, so brakes, and it has some understeer as well. But yeah, now let's see. Where is it? The dirt spec. The dirt spec. We need to test the dirt spec. Okay, there it is. Let's go a bit more off-road, shall we? To our dirt test track thing. Oh, and why did it put you in reverse all the time? It's that way. Also here they... Seriously, you have a hernia if you keep driving like this. If you drive like that for 5 years on a bike, you have a problem with your back. I can tell you that. No idea how they put the driver on, but it's us looking. This is more like it, but now I'm leaning backwards, which completely slows down, of course. That's sorta... Seems to me that they have put the driver too much to the front on the bike, and which results in quite a strange look. Seriously, you have to be a gymnastic to bend your back like that. Oops, yay. Just in time of the lean forward key, or I would have been doing stunts there. Let's throw it about a bit. It has a pretty wide tire, so yeah. Let's push it a bit. No, not really. It's definitely not sliding about like the 450cc bikes. This thing is heavier, of course, but oh, finally get it into a slide. Had to put quite some effort in it though. And it has a pretty strong nitro, yeah, by the looks of it, so if you push that a few times. Here we go again. Decline. Random friend requests. People who don't even bother in the chat box, or at least introduce themselves. I'm sorry people, but I just have to decline that. Because, well, if I wouldn't accepted all of them, those invites, then I would have like 200-300 friends, and that's not a good idea, because that gives issues in PvP. Keep your friend list under 100 at least. What I'm going to look for is something like the Golden Hill, or whatever it is. Where is it? Is this one? Yeah. The Windmill Racetrack, that's the one I was looking for. See how this thing handles if you do a couple of stunts with it on landing. Because I kinda like the handling. Brake seems to be good. There is a stunt race here, by the way. Already have been here a couple of times. Of course there are no ramps now, except for that one jump that is coming up shortly after the 2 more corners. Bam. Almost perfect. And that was yeah, this thing doesn't slide at all. Even sliding. Nope. Sliding on braking, and even then you can control it. If you do that with the KTM, you'll spin out 360 at least. Let's see if we can do a double backflip. Triple Misty was a bit over the top, because normally you do a double Misty on that ram there. Yeah, with enough speed you can definitely do a double backflip there. Stunt wise, that's more points than a double Misty. This thing needs to be tested once there is a dirt stunt race. There is a stunt race in this current qualifier, but it's only for race spec, so this thing can't be used there. Nevertheless, this is definitely, in my opinion, a good bike. For the specs that we have a street spec, which is probably the highest top speed. It's one of the best accelerating street specs. Also the dirt spec, one of the best accelerating, and it's pretty handling as well. So understeer on the street spec, and the brakes are not that good on that one either, but mainly the understeer on the street spec is a bit of a problem. But other than that, this seems to be a decent bike. For the stunt race, that has to be tested, but my feeling is that it handles better than the 450 bikes, KTM and Kawasaki. And the monster of the Ducati, that was the best stunt bike so far in dirt. This thing might just beat it. We have to test that once we have a dirt stunt race available. But yep, definitely a decent bike. We'll see you guys in the next one, and bye for now.